having human relationships with the people who have done this to make sure that they're getting the kind of results you want.
Fantastic. Lastly, Michael, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your thoughts on study groups. And let's say somebody has done some practitioner courses and is ready to get together, may not be the leader of a study course, but attend a study course.
Okay.
What are your thoughts?
I am an absolute advocate of practice groups. I think that practice groups. Now, let's say, because again, if we go back to the idea, there are a lot of the people who say I want to learn NLP from books often tell me the reason that I want to learn NLP from books is that I cannot afford, you know, I can't afford to go on a regular NLP course.
Right.
My answer to you is find a practice group. They're either free or cheap.
Yeah, I have one. It's absolutely free, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, some of them will charge you a little bit to help pay for the, you know, desserts and
it's minimal money. You know.
Or and again, others like yours are just free, and that's great. Essentially, what I would say is find a practice group, and that will start to give you an experience of NLP. Admittedly, it's not as great as when you have a really good trainer in the front of the room.
What are you trying to say, Michael?
Well, someone like this. And it's not as good as being in a full practitioner environment, but still, but at least you're around somebody.
Little bits.
But you're around somebody. You're around somebody who is an exemplar of having been trained.
That's right.
And so you'll start out not making hopefully a lot of the basic mistakes.
Right.
Because you're watching this person do it.
Right.
This is a person who theoretically has been into training, has been trained by someone else, and therefore is less likely to be making the obvious mistakes.
Yeah, and there's some fantastic practice groups out there with very well-known trainers, and not only that, you are around a lot of people that are also interested in NLP and curious about NLP. Some have some training, some don't have any whatsoever, so it doesn't really matter whether or not you've done a practitioner course yet. You could still probably come. Yeah,
but let me give you one other piece of advice. Even if you haven't had an NLP training, if you go on the internet, if you go to some of these forums, again, like places like NLP Connections, places like that.
And you actually aren't you community mentor for NLP?
Well, yeah.
Michael's got a lot of.
I have not
recorded on NLP Connections.
There's a lot of my material there.
Even though you haven't been there lately.
I haven't really had.
But you've got tons of,
the opportunity recently. Yeah, but there is a lot of material.
Michael's got tons of information about everything you can think of from A to Z. I don't know, there's probably something that's not there, but there's tons of information, and where he's explicitly and beautifully answered so many different types of questions on so many different types of subjects. So, yeah.
But what I would say is that you can always go into a forum like that, find people that are in your area and say, look, would you like to get together and do this?
That's another thing. Let's talk a little bit about that.
And essentially you can sort of create your own little impromptu practice group meeting, you know. Meet at a coffee shop. You know.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. But hook up with somebody. If you can get 3 or 4 people together.
That's a group.
You know, that's a group, and then eventually you can start asking if there's some NLP trainers in your area.
That's right.
NLP trainers are always glad to be able to market their materials.
Yeah.
So you know, so basically, if you go in and you go into one of these places, and you know, and you say to one of these trainers, "Would you come and speak to our practice group?" Chances are they're going to be absolutely happy to, because that's going to give them a chance to show off who they are and what they can do. And so I mean, you know, absolutely take advantage of those kinds of opportunities.
And also, you can have different people that head the meeting each time.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be the same person every single time.
Yeah, but I do want to get across is that even if you don't have any skills yet, as long as you can find some other people who have skills, because most people are perfectly happy, especially people who've just been out of a prac, want to have a context in which they can use and practice the material that they learn.
Don't keep it fresh.
Exactly. And the thing is that, you know, so if you put that out there, and you're persistent, you know, you have to realize that the first few times you might not have very many people turn up, or sometimes nobody.
That's a key point, Michael, because you know, generally when you put something out there, people don't always flock to it immediately, but as you get a bit of momentum going and people see it 1 or 2 or 3 times, you get more and more people. Sometimes they straggle in, sometimes they come in a bundle.
There is a rule of 3 to these things, and that is that generally people, now almost everyone is a little bit wary about something that's new or something that's untried or what have you. And so by the time that they've seen something, you know, 3 times, that's when a lot of people will start to go, okay, this is consistent, this is there. Let me go ahead and spend some time.
Absolutely, fantastic. Michael, is there anything that you'd like to add to somebody who might be, 1, considering getting a coach, 2, becoming a coach, or doing a bit of NLP or hypnosis work? I know it's kind of a vast array, but is there any last thoughts you'd like to leave with our audience?
Okay, first of all, from the point of view, if you are somebody who's looking for a coach, or is looking for a change worker, or is looking for a therapist, find someone who will let you speak to some of their previous clients. Find somebody who is willing to guarantee their work. Find someone who has a track record and is willing to share that information with you. Now, in some countries there are confidentiality laws that it's a little tricky with some of this stuff, but if it's possible, do your homework. At the very least, make sure that you're not going to pay for anything unless you know that you've agreed upon an outcome and that it's something that's measurable and something that, you know, that's not just some kind of, you know, he can say, well, I think you got the change and I'm just going to, I think you're just trying to not pay your bill. You know what? It needs to be you having the locus of control, you being in control and being in charge of whether or not you get the change you want and need. So that's what I would say with regard to that. Secondly, when you're looking for a coach, when you're looking for a change worker, look for someone who you feel comfortable with pretty quickly or immediately. There are some times when you have a conflict of personality. If that's the case, it doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It doesn't mean that they're not skilled at what they do. It means that there just might not be the right chemistry in that particular moment. So feel free to walk away. And make sure that that's structured so that the very first time that you meet with the person that you're going to be meeting with, that it's a time for them to decide whether they're happy with you and you to decide whether you're happy to continue to work with them. And finally, for people on the other side of that continuum, for those who want to work as coaches or therapists or trainers, I don't want to discourage you, but I do want to let you know that it is important that you think about the persons and people for which you are going to be caring. I want you to consider them first and foremost, and I want you not to try to overburden yourself with too many criteria, because you need to think about, you know, whether or not you're just trying to protect yourself with your criteria. This isn't about loading yourself down with too many criteria. It's just making sure that you're satisfying the basic things that you need to be able to do to be able to be sure that you can help the people that you're working with. Talk to people who have had, get trained by people who've done this stuff before. Get specific focus training on the area in which you want to pursue. And always guarantee your work so that people can feel safe and secure. Never charge anybody if you don't benefit them. And let your client be the one to decide whether or not they have benefited.